Hello, welcome to this ClusterBox tutorial. I'm Tom Weeks, and I'm the developer of ClusterBox. In this tutorial, we're going to cover SpeedSheets. So, SpeedSheets is one of my latest features, and what I wanted to do with SpeedSheets was to create a quick way for people to enter in information. So it's all about getting that information into the database fast, so you can generate your spreadsheets and your reports and all that stuff. So if you don't have the information correctly formatted to use the automatic data entry, like say you get like a bunch of papers and you can't use the automatic data entry with that, SpeedSheets is something that you should look at using because it's specifically designed for when you get just a stack of papers, 200 employee everything reports, 200 pages of an employee everything report, and then you can just go through page by page and just 10 key touch your way through and enter in the information you need, and it's gonna make it faster than going just the normal route. So traditionally what you'd have to do is you'd have to enter in a new carrier here, and then you'd have to enter in the clock rings and do all that stuff. With SpeedSheets, you still have to do it, but you do it in a different format. So let's take a look at this main screen here. We've opened up an investigation range, and so that all this information is set. And so you can see on this menu bar, there's a new menu item, SpeedSheets. Click that, and there's some new items there. So let's click Generate All Inclusive. Okay, so we've generated that, and okay, so this is all this information has already been entered in. I use the automatic data entry, and I entered in all this information, so that's how it's there. But if it was blank, that means there would be no information in there. Now, from here, you can either delete information, you can edit information. You'll see that it's in a different format. So these the lines in blue here that's carrier information. And so you can see, this carrier stopwatch, that's the name, this is the list, this is the NS day, this is the route, and this is the employee ID. So in the white, you have the day, this is the 5200 time, the total amount of hours they worked that day. These are any moves. Now you can have as many sets of moves as you want, but they're formatted differently. You can kind of see. So let's look at stopwatch here. We go down here and we find stopwatch on the list. We could see that on this day, Saturday, they moved off at 10:04. That corresponds to this number. On Saturday, 10:04, they moved back at 11:38, corresponds to that second number, and then they did that on route 9001. That corresponds to that third number there. So, and then if there's multiple moves, two sets of moves like here on Wednesday, you can see on the speed sheet on Wednesday there are also two sets of moves. It's the same format, moved off, moved back on, the route. It's separated by a dash and then another move set. So that's how it's sort of configured. And then there's a return to station time. This is any notes. So occasionally you get people working on their NS day. You'll notice here that their NS day is Monday. It says it up here. And then Monday is also highlighted in red on the speed sheet, and then down here it's under the code, the NS day code is listed. So also you'll notice that the carriers here are not listed alphabetically. That's because they're organized by employee ID number, which is how they're listed on the employee everything report. So you'll notice that if you have an employee everything report, that this is going to go in the exact same order as the employee everything report, as far as which carrier comes first, which carrier comes second. That's because the employee everything report sorts those carriers by employee ID. And if you don't have an employee ID number, if there's none listed, then it's going to sort them alphabetically. All the carriers here are sorted, have an employee ID number, so this page is blank. But if they didn't have employee ID numbers, they would appear there under the alphabetically tab. Let's make a minor change. Let's say they worked. So let's say they, instead of working 10 hours on this day, they worked 1178. So they worked 1178 on that day. Okay, so since you've made a change to the speed sheet, you have to save the change. So whatever spreadsheet program you're using, you have to save it. And you always want to save it as an Excel file. If you're using Apple Numbers, or if you're using this LibreOffice, they have their own separate file extensions. You always want to use the Excel file extension, the XLSX file extension. So always use Excel. And so it's saved. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to find this file in the archive. So let's input to database. Let's make sure we're entering in the correct one. 21 for all. 21 for all. It's right here. Okay. Okay, so open. And it's going to give you a progress bar, 2 progress bars, and it's going to give you a report. So this report shows you the carrier, the line that you changed, and then what that changed affected. This is going to give you a summary. It checked all the carriers on the speed sheet. It checked all the rings on the speed sheet. It found no fatal errors, and it made one change. So if you do pre-check, it's going to just check everything and not enter in anything. So that will give you a chance to correct any errors that you might have before you enter in anything. But SpeedSheets will not, ClusterBox will not allow you to enter in information that has errors in it. It will flag the error, and then it will skip that, and then enter in all the other information that doesn't have errors. So you can just close out these reports. They delete themselves after a while. So, okay, we changed cargo pants' time. Okay, so you'll see up here we have that new time entered in. So just think of that times 500, however many changes you want to make. The main point of this is to enter in new carrier information and new clock rings. So you can use it to edit, but for the most part you're using it to put information, a lot of information into that database so you can generate your spreadsheets and all that. So you have some other stuff. Pre-check is the same thing as input to database, except it doesn't input it into database. It only does the checks, and it will generate that report. Speed sheets, or cheat sheets. This is your speed sheet cheat sheet, and this will give you proper values for these cells here. Okay, so like if you want to enter an employee, the list that the carrier is on, you have options of OTDL, work assignment list, aux, PTF, right? And it tells you the default. So that's going to give you the correct format. If you don't enter in, if you want to put that in, like if you put work instead of WAL in there, it's not going to read it properly. And it's going to create an error. So this is a handy reference to have. But you can always enter in information through the regular cluster box here, and then generate the speed sheet and see what it looks like, and that'll tell you how to do it. Okay, and then back. Okay, and instructions these are kind of dry, but if you want to read through them, you can. And let's see here, SpeedSheet archives. So this tells you all these, all the speed sheets in the archive. Let's close this out. Okay. So cancel here, but you can open any one you want, and you can also clear the archive with this button right there. Okay, so if you want to clear the archive, there's this button here, so just clear it. And that deletes everything in the archive. And that might kind of come in handy because if you have too many files in there, you don't want to, input the wrong file or whatever. It cuts down on the confusion. And that's about it. So I want to keep it short here. So this is SpeedSheets. Hope you can get some use out of this. And they're mostly used for inputting information. It's not a spreadsheet where you're using it to present information. It's like the regular spreadsheet and the Overmax spreadsheet. Those are, and the reports. Those are things that you kind of print out and use to make your case. Speed sheets are what you use to put information into the database. So, and that's their sole purpose. But I guess if you want to print them out, you're free to do that. This is what the carrier-only speed sheet looks like. And this doesn't have the clock rings. This just gives you information on the carriers, and you can go through and change any of this information here. Okay, so that's all I'm going to cover today. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and happy union stewarding.